Garlich, thanks for sitting down with me today. Appreciate it.
A pleasure.
ESA recently welcomed the presentation of legislative proposal called the Healthier Animals and Plants for a Safer Agri-Food Chain package by the European Commission. What does this proposal mean to the seed sector in Europe and then around the world?
Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't exactly welcome the proposal. What we welcomed was that it was finally presented.
Right.
We've been in this process for almost 4.5 years now, since the first part of the evaluation of that legislative package started. Because we already have legislation, of course, for seed marketing, for plant health, also for animals. And this is now basically an update. It's a revision, it's a modernization. And we have been working with the Commission and Member States, but also other interested stakeholders, on what should that legislation look like, ideally, from our point of view. And it's taken quite some time until the final package now was presented. And it was high time, because next year, the European Parliament will stop to work at the end of March, because we will have elections for the European Parliament in May. And then we will also have a new Commission. So if we want to finish the legislative procedure between the Parliament and the Member States, we still need to be pretty quick to get that done.
Right. If I understand correctly, the new package also provides updates on the plant health side of it, right? How's this going to help seed breeding in Europe?
The combination of the two, the seed marketing legislation and the plant health legislation, is very important. On the one hand, the plant health legislation is, if I may say so, is the overarching one, because it covers all plant material. And then we have the plant reproductive material, that's how we now define the seed, that specifies what we need to do in our specific sector. What will be a common feature of both is a registration of operators. So we will have a central register which will contain all the names, the addresses of people dealing with plant material, and then of course a specific part of that, people indeed producing new plant varieties. So that will help transparency. It will definitely also help traceability. There will be a number of improvements that go along with it, both within the sector, but also vis-à-vis our customers, and of course across the food chain.
So if this legislation that we're proposing is not accepted, what will be the impact from there?
I think it would be a missed opportunity. Of course, we would not be without laws, because we still have the existing law. But I think we have all been looking forward for a modernization. The core of our plant reproductive materials, or seed marketing legislation, but also the plant health legislation, is already quite old. In particular, seed marketing legislation dates back to the 1960s in parts. And there have been constant amendments and changes, and we now basically need to clean it up a bit to make it more accessible, not only to the regulators, but also to us, the sector, to also take account of new developments. The industry has matured quite a bit. We are now more involved than ever in cooperation with public bodies in, for example, the registration of varieties, in checking plant material for plant health issues. So actually, the industry has moved from a mere subject to become more a partner. It's really a public-private partnership nowadays of the officials in the carrying out of many of the tasks, and with that in the implementation of the legislation. So if we would not move forward, it would be an opportunity missed. It would mean that we would indeed put unnecessary burden on both the regulators as well as the industry, because we are partly doing things double, which we could, in a coordinated and facilitated manner, make cheaper, faster, and with that also, of course, make sure that we bring innovation to our customers, the farmers and the growers, again, faster. And I think we all agree that innovation, producing more and better, is the big challenge for farmers, but also with that for us, for the input industries. We need to get our new genetics, our resistances, our tolerances against drought or flooding or all the other challenges that we have, to the farmer as quickly as possible, so that indeed the farmer can fulfill the mission to feed ever more people from dwindling resources.
And so we haven't said the letters yet, but how does GM fit into this innovation platform?
The modernization of this legislation is not in the first place about GMOs or about conventional. It is about seed. So the rules that we will adopt in Europe will be valid for all seed that can be marketed. Now, as you know, for the time being, de facto, that means conventional seed in Europe. We only have very limited acreage of GM crops in only a few member states of the European Union. And that is a political issue. It's got nothing to do with the rules or with the regulations as far as the seed marketing is concerned. It really is a question of public perception, leading to a certain pressure from activists, but also from the wider public, even from food operators, from retailers, on farmers. And farmers, of course, can only grow and sell where they know that there is a market. And that market, we have to accept, is not yet existing in Europe. Whether or not the modernization of the seed or the plant health legislation is actually changing much of that, I am not sure. I think there are other elements that might play a greater role. You've also witnessed that we, just a few days ago, in Europe have largely restricted, we could even say banned, the use of 3 key insecticides, neonicotinoids, that are used widely for seed treatment across a large variety of crops. This technology has been very important in making certain plant production possible in some parts of Europe. Now, without that technology, what is left? And many see that without, on the one hand, crop protection, and then on the other hand, also without genetic modification technology, which is, at least in parts, an alternative or an additional tool that one could deploy. Indeed, European farmers and growers are increasingly losing tools in their toolbox, and with that losing competitiveness. So the challenge, I think, is not that much on the seed marketing legislation. It's more on our overall perception of agriculture and what agriculture actually needs from its input industries, what technologies need to be deployed to actually meet the challenges.
Coming up in October, you have your European Seed Association annual meeting in Warsaw.
Yeah.
Anything you can share with us about what one could expect in attending this year's event?
I think it will be an exciting event. As you know, we have taken the decision to take the ESA annual meeting outside of Brussels and indeed go where our members are, to the different member states. We still do a lot of events in Brussels to target audiences, but we also want to make sure that we stay close to our membership. So this year, indeed, it will be Warsaw. We have a number of important items on the agenda. One will be, of course, as we just already discussed, the reform of our seed marketing and plant health legislation. So by then we will know already a bit more. What is the appreciation of the Commission's proposal by, for example, the European Parliament, by other stakeholders, by the member states. So we will already discuss on a bit more informed level what we may expect could be the final outcome. We have another very important issue, which is the continued implementation of our European seed treatment assurance scheme. So basically our quality assurance that seed treatment is done in the proper way, and with that respecting environmental safety, respecting bee health, and so forth. We've made great progress in this area, and we will report actually about the status of what we have achieved by then. And we hope that that will help also to convince regulators that indeed the seed industry is taking its responsibility together with the partners, so together with the crop protection industry, together with the farmers. Another issue we talked about that in our last year meeting was the big debate about intellectual property protection. And we now have a new position on intellectual property in Europe, which safeguards our mantra, if I may call it that way, that we need free access for further breeding to boost innovation. But for breeders, it's very important to know about the actual intellectual property status of the material that we're working with. And in order to guide them, to help them, we are setting up a very specific database on ESA level that will contain a combination of information that is quite unique. It will link the information on the patent, so on the intellectual property status, to the varieties to which that intellectual property protection tool actually applies. And with that, it will allow for an informed choice of breeders when they start their work with commercially available material. So I think it is a great tool, and we are also by then going to know what is the name of that database, because we have launched a contest on Facebook about it. We've already received quite a number of interesting suggestions, and the winner of that contest will be invited also to attend our General Assembly in Warsaw. So these maybe are the three main items that we are going to discuss. But as you know, there are many, many others. There are many technical issues that we deal with in our sections, issues from vegetable-specific plant health issues up to seedlot sites for herbicides and so forth. So many things that really are in the day-to-day business of our membership. And of course also other legislative developments like the implementation of the Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing in EU legislation. So there is no shortage of items for discussion, so I'm convinced it's going to be an exciting meeting and hopefully also with a very strong attendance.
Fantastic. Thanks again for sitting down with me, Garlich.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.